Today we'll be focusing on our back bodies, the posterior chain. So we'll start in child's pose. So guiding the big toes together, knees can splay apart, sink your hips back towards your heels, and simply lower forehead towards the floor. This is a nice movement to start out. It just helps open the lower lumbar spine, creating a little bit of space and also in through the hips. If you're experiencing any sort of sensation that's not supportive of having the arms forward, know that you can draw the hands back behind you, resting the upper arms on the top of the thighs. Hands can drape back. Still mindful that our shoulders are rolling back, but we can find a little bit more of a softening here. If you would like this posture to be a bit more active, with the hands forward, be sure to press the hands, let the elbows lift and forearms, shoulders broad on the back body, creating space through the upper thoracic. Take a few rounds of breath here to feel your back body start to expand and contract with the breath. So maybe simply noticing all the little nooks and crannies and the areas of our back body. Good. And then once you're complete here, begin to press into the palms, start to elevate the forehead and walk your hands over to the right side. Plant the hands here, maybe even placing the right hand on top of the left. Anchor back through the sitting bones. Lower the forehead, let it rest between the arms. Push your hands and feel the left side of your body open. So feel that left hand anchor. Let it press and reach all the way back through that left sitting bone. Couple more big breaths here, again feeling the expansion through the left side of the rib cage. And then once you're complete, release the left hand off of the right, walk yourself through center and all the way over to the right. So anchoring down here, pressing, reaching back through the sitting bones, let the forehead be heavy. Open along that right side. So feel from the hip to the shoulder, create space. Good. And then once you complete, release the hands, press down, lift up, and come all the way up, lifting the hips. Good. We'll come all the way down onto our belly. So coming onto forearms, hips and pelvis can release, elbows can come wide. Allow the arms to extend forward, finding a nice diagonal stretch through the back body here. So ideally, we're turning the thumbs up, palms facing inward. Plug the shoulders and scapula onto the back body. Feel the tippy toes reach back. Okay, from here, hug the belly in towards the spine and finding opposite arm to opposite leg. We'll raise the right arm as we reach back through the left, so reaching through the fingertips, reaching back through the tippy toes, and then slowly lower down. Switching opposite side, left arm, right leg, lengthen, reach, feel the entire back body chain lengthen and lower down. So find two more on each side. Come on up, take a breath or two here, so maybe even feel the belly press into the floor, feel the body soften as you exhale. And then slowly switch sides. And shoulders guiding down the back body. Good. One more. Good. A little torture device for being Stretched both ways, front to back, little diagonal. Good, and then come all the way down. You can lower the forehead, draw the arms back alongside the body. Same sort of movement as with the toes. Reach them back, let the fingers reach back, and roll the shoulders onto the back body. So notice that the shoulders lift away from the floor. Same similar movement. Belly hugs in. We press down through the pubic bone. Start to raise the lower leg. So reach through the tippy toes. Soles of the feet start to lift. You can stay here if this is enough. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, maybe start to lift the forehead, lift the chin, lift the chest, rise up. You can keep the hands alongside the hips. You can also raise the arms coming into our locust pose. Okay. Take a big breath in, full breath out. Good, 2 more. Good, as you inhale, lengthen, lift, actively squeezing the inner thighs towards each other. As we exhale, come all the way down. Once you come down, maybe a little wiggle, little release. Let the body soften, and then slowly draw the hands back underneath the shoulders. Press the forearms, hug the belly, come onto forearms, and all the way up into table. Good. So finding the 6 movements of our spine. As we inhale, we'll find our cat and cow. So inhale, belly starts to lower, sitting bones lift, shoulders away as the gaze comes forward. As we exhale, round through the pelvis, tuck the tail, lift the backs of the ribs, guiding chin towards the chest. Inhale, opening through the front body. And as we exhale, round, opening up through the back body. Good. 2 more each direction. Try and find a little bit of softness through the elbows, especially if you tend to hyperextend like myself. And as we inhale, find your way back through center, nice and neutral. So instead of rounded like the cat, we're letting the belly hang like the cow. We hug in, tuck the belly, low ribs, drawing in, shoulders on the back body. Work it now a little into our lateral, into our side body. So from here, leaning slightly to the left, begin to extend the right leg straight back. Cross it over to the left corner. Lower the toes, curl the toes under. Reach through the crown of the head, shoulders on the back body. Feel the right hip start to release a little bit towards the right side of our mat. You can stay here, or if it feels okay, begin to walk the hands over to the left. Shoulders onto the back body. A little bit of softness in the elbows. Gaze over the left shoulder. So feel a shortening on our left side, but we're opening through the right side. Keep that back right knee lifted. Okay. And then slowly start to walk the hands back through center. Right leg can come back, and we'll lower the right knee down. Again, switching sides. Lean slightly to the right. Extend the left leg straight back. Cross over. Lower toes, shoulders on the back, hips slightly to the left, reach through the crown, stay, or again, walk the hands over to the right. Maybe bring your gaze over the right shoulder. Reach up through the back, right knee pit. Breathe into the left side. And then once you're complete, come on back. Okay, and lower left knee. Maybe give a little wiggle, a little release. And final movement is to find a twist. From here, we're going to find a twist with our child's pose. So just as we did in the beginning, toes come together, knees splay apart, sink the hips back towards the heels with the right hand in the center of the mat. Open the left arm and then draw the left arm underneath the right. Lower that left shoulder, lower the left ear. Right hand can find the floor. The back of this left hand is pressing into the floor as you roll the shoulders, sink the hips, and maybe lift this right shoulder up towards the sky as you press the palm. Take a couple rounds of breath here. Good. You're pressing the back of this left hand into the floor. Feel a little bit of an engagement and opening through the upper thoracic spine. Let the shoulders start to separate. And once you complete, press the right hand, start to lift the chest, come back through center. Maybe a little wiggle, and then find the movement on the second side. So left hand to the center, inhale, right arm, begin to draw right arm underneath, lower down onto right shoulder, left hand in front of the gaze. So pressing the left hand is going to intensify the stretch as that left shoulder works towards stacking upon the right. If it's a little too much, you can lower the chest a little bit closer towards the floor. If it feels okay, keep pressing the back of this right hand into the earth. Start to feel the shoulders separate. Let them open, create space, and breathe into the upper thoracic spine. Good, big full breaths here. And then once you're complete, press the left hand, elevate the head, neck and shoulders, release the right arm. Come on forward, back towards table. Knees can come in towards hip width. From here, I'm going to simply lean to the left as I step my right foot wide. So heel is going to be in, toes turning out, switching sides, back left toes tuck. I pick up the back left knee and step the left leg wide. So, both feet are wide, hips are heavy here. From here, we'll simply wiggle a little bit, lifting the heels and rolling onto the toes in order to let the hips and pelvis be heavy. We're going to find a neck and spine squat. So ideally, we're interlacing the fingers, placing the interlaced hands behind us, tucking the chin, curl the upper neck, let the elbows draw towards each other as you roll the shoulders onto the back body, and hips and pelvis are heavy here. So nice extension through the spine, the cervical extensors along the side of the neck begin to lengthen. Take a breath or two here. Beautiful. Once complete, release the interlaced fingers. Begin to elongate through the neck. Come on up. If it's not possible to have the heels on the mat, if they're lifted, that's perfectly okay. Sometimes it's bone-on-bone compression that won't allow that to happen, so that's fine. But also know that you can work from a high pelvis as well and work towards a nice long spine with the hips heavy, heart reaching forward. So know that this is an option as well. Okay, all right. From here, lean slightly to the right. Just as we came in, we come back out, coming into our tabletop. So finding a stretch for the Quadratus lumborum, which is the space between the lower rib and the upper hip crest. So it's a fleshy part right in the middle, and it doesn't oftentimes get stretched. So from here, draw the knees together, thighs together. We'll simply start to release the right hip down towards the right edge of the mat, keeping thighs and knees together. Hip might simply hang here, shoulders on the back body. Good. Heart lifted, spine long. Ideally, there's a little bit of space underneath that hip. If you're able to release it all the way down, keep the engagement, press down and reach through the heart. So try and keep that little bit of space so that gravity's doing the work to help lengthen. Take a breath here. And then once you're complete, press, start to roll up, maybe shake out that right wrist if there's a little compression there, get some blood flow back, and then find the movement on the second side. So rolling onto the outer knees, hips get heavy, a little bit of softness in that supporting left elbow. Hips hang, shoulders roll, lift through the heart, lift the gaze. Find the length as you breathe. And maybe think of your body like a slinky. Let gravity help open the quadratus lumborum on this side. Good, one more. Beautiful. And then simply press the palms, hug the belly as you lift the hips. Come on back up. And let the knees start to separate back to hip width. Good. Pressing the palms, tuck the toes, peel the knees as you lift the hips and walk the feet towards the hands. So coming into our ragdoll. And ragdoll is soft, so the arms can extend and there's a bend in the knees. You might even feel the belly rest on the legs. That's totally fine. But the back of the neck extends and the chin tucks slightly. So we're just finding a complete decompression through the back body. The upper torso cascades over the legs. Arms can dangle. You can grab onto opposite elbows. Sometimes it feels nice to simply draw the hands back behind you and let them rest at the sacrum. Release the head and neck. Let it softly hang like a cherry hanging from its stem. Take a breath or two here. Good, and then once you're complete, if hands are behind you, draw them forward, bend the knees so much so that palms can plant on the floor, lean to one side, step back, hop back, jump back. Press the palms, lift the hips, draw the heels down towards the floor. So downward facing dog. Guiding the shoulders to roll wide, heart to melt. We're pressing the palms, actively lengthening through the arms. Hips lift, so spine is long as we hug the belly, navel drawing in. You can have as deep of a bend in the knees. So if it feels better for your hamstrings and for your low back to keep a bend, please feel free to do so. It's more important about having a nice long spine versus having tight, lengthened hamstrings and a rounded upper back. We want length through the spine, softness through the backs of the knees. So as you come into downward dog, oftentimes it feels good to pedal out the feet. So lengthen through one heel and then the other, simply awakening through the backs of the calves. Maybe even finding a little bit of an opening through the soles of the feet. Good. And then settle in. Find your full expression, whatever that looks like for you. Again, try and keep the spine long. Lengthen through the heels. Breathe into the entire posterior chain, the whole back body here. Good. Couple more breaths. Feel the back body awaken. And then once you're complete, start to walk the feet towards the hands And as we were in our rag doll, which was soft, we're gonna have an active forward fold into a halfway lift. So active forward fold, maybe hands find your ankles, shins, thighs, whatever you might be able to grab onto, but we reach through the crown, a little bit of softness in the knees, spine lengthens and extends over the legs, chin tucked. So our rag doll was a little bit softer. This one we're active through the backs of the legs. Take a breath or two here. With each inhale, think about the spine lengthening, and with each exhale, let it hinge and draw forward. Good. And then once you're complete, we'll find our halfway lift. So a little bit of a micro bend in the knees. The thighs are rolling inward. Reach through the crown and start to extend the spine so it's halfway lifted parallel to the floor. So hands can be on shins, they can be in front of the toes, they can be on thighs, whatever feels best. Shoulders onto the back body. The belly, again, is hugging in. The low ribs tucked. So I've got a nice neutral spine here. You could come around and place a tray of tea and it would rest on my back body here. I'm not rounded, nor am I letting my sits bones turn up and overarch through the low back. It's nice, long, and strong. So take a breath or two here. Feel the backs of the legs lengthen. Feel the back body long and strong. Once you're complete, soft little bend in the knees, keep the belly hugging in, press the feet, reach through the crown, and slowly walk yourself all the way up, coming into standing. From here, we'll find our standing runner stretch. So with one foot a little bit behind, we're gonna step about half a leg's length. Hips are gonna be as neutral as feels good on your knees. So if you're twisted quite a bit and you can feel it in the knee, create a little bit of a bend. But ideally we're working towards hips being neutral. Draw the hands back behind you, interlacing your fingers. Roll the shoulders away from the ears and hug the elbows in towards each other. So as we press down, lift up, feel an opening across the chest. And as we exhale, start to hinge forward. You can bend a little bit into the back left knee, but ideally we're coming forward towards where the torso is parallel to the floor. From here, with elbows drawing in, you can stay hands at the sacrum, long spine, or reach through the arms, let the knuckles start to lift, hinge all the way over your extended right leg. Feel the shoulders roll away from the ears. Press into the feet. So we're opening through the back of the right hamstring here. That left hip is drawing forward slightly. The spine is long, but there's a bit of softness here. So we tuck the chin. Feel the back body lengthen. Feel the arms get nice and long. One more big breath. Good. Pressing the feet, reach through the crown, squeeze the inner thighs, lengthen up to about parallel to the floor, maybe a little bit lifted. Bend the elbows, maybe release the interlaced fingers, find the hips, press down, start to lift all the way up. Good. From here, step forward so your feet are nice and parallel, nice and neutral. Good. From here, feet are about hip width apart, which is usually about a fist and a half in between the big toes. If you can find your as-is bones, your hip bones, thighs are running sort of directly down. Good. From here, hands on the hips, we're gonna start to bend into the knees, coming into our chair pose. So weight's gonna come forward a little bit into the toes, but then we wanna sink it back. So get heavy into the heels, feel the bum come back behind you. Again, check in with your spine, nice and neutral, belly hugging in, low ribs tucked. We sink the bum, reach those shoulders, maybe raise the arms to shoulder height if this feels good. If it's too much for the shoulders, you can let your hands come to prayer. You can also keep them alongside the body, palms facing forward. Okay, but keep the legs active here. So we're squeezing an imaginary ball, holding the thighs towards each other, shoulders rolling down your back body, maybe even squeezing the shoulder blades a little bit towards each other. Okay, feel the weight heavy in the heels. You should be able to wiggle your toes a little bit. Okay, a couple more breaths. Feel those thighs, the quads long. Okay, and then when you're ready, on your next inhale, press into the feet. Start to use the length and strength of the legs. Push down, lift up, come all the way up into standing. Second side for our standing runner stretch. Hands on hips, lean to the left, step the right foot back, about half a leg's length. Heels in, toes out. Even out those hips a little bit. Soft bend in that back right knee. Good. Finding a little bit of balance through the hands as we interlace behind us. Try and find the opposite pinky on top. So the one that feels a little awkward, a little different. Roll the shoulders, squeeze the elbows, press down, lift up, find length. As we exhale, hinge from the hips, soft bend in this back right knee. Let the torso come forward as you start to feel the length through this left leg. Good. Once you're about parallel or slightly lifted, keep those elbows hugging in, open across the chest. Stay here if this is enough, or begin to lengthen the arms, lift the knuckles, hinge from the hips, and let the torso come all the way over. Good. Breathe into the back of the left leg. So feel the left big toe press into the earth. Feel that right hip draw forward slightly. Relax through the back of the neck, keeping those shoulders onto the back body. Good. One more big breath. Stay as long as you need. Begin to press the left leg, lengthen. Good. Start to bend into the elbows, releasing. Come to about parallel or slightly lifted. Let the blood settle and then push down, squeeze the inner thighs, guide all the way up into standing. Good. From here, let that right foot come forward and find yourself coming all the way down onto our bum, seated. So final posture is coming into our upward boat. So ideally, soles of the feet are on the floor. Stage one might be just to place the hands alongside the hips. Feel the low back scoop in, lift through the heart, hug the belly, those low ribs tucked. We're nice and strong and supported here in our core. Shoulders are on the back body. Hands can stay alongside the hips, lifting the heart and reaching through the crown. Maybe come up to tippy toes. Maybe hands come behind the hamstrings, start to lean back. Maybe float the feet. You can point the toes, you can also flex, whichever feels best, personal preference. Keeping those inner thighs squeezing and active. Keep the low back lifted, heart lifted. Okay. Feel the length through the spine, let the shoulders roll back. You can open the arms out to the side if this feels good. 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 You can also lengthen the legs. Keep the legs bent if you feel that low back rounding. Make it a little bit easier and supportive for the low back, so lift the heart, hands find the hamstrings. Good. The last breath or two here. And then once you're complete, lower the feet and maybe find a nice resting posture. That completes the back body.